Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're live.
Brian's having trouble
Good
getting in.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the special city council meeting to order, May 7th at 5 p.m. Nina, could you please call the roll?
Councilperson Podgorski,
Here.
Councilperson Alvarez,
Here.
Councilperson Geishurst,
Yes, here.
Councilperson Clem, Councilperson Clem, Councilperson Williams,
Here.
Councilperson Gully.
Brian is trying to dial in, just so.
Okay. Councilperson Zilli.
Here.
Do we want to wait a second till people get on?
Well, why don't we do this? Let me do this, Madam Chairman. Why don't we open the public hearing now? That, and advise people they could message in comments if they so desire or want to be heard. And we could wait a few minutes while the others get signed in, and that'll give a little extra time for the public hearing messages to come in, if any.
Okay, Council President Williams, do you want to announce what we're doing so that people know this is a public meeting and that they can call in or text in if they have questions?
Sure. Tonight's meeting is a public hearing regarding resolutions and tax abatements for Marina Shores and Conradi Plastics. So we're going to wait just a few minutes. We have a couple other members, council people that are trying to get signed on. We do have a quorum, but we wanted to make sure that every council person is participating, so we're just going to wait a few minutes before we open the public hearing.
Well, actually, I think,
Is that
no, I think we're going to open the public hearing so people can comment, which you can comment on the Facebook live stream, and we can read
Okay.
those aloud.
all right? So the public may now comment via Facebook, right, Colin? Is that
Yep,
true?
while we're going
Okay.
through, they can put comments on Facebook on the live stream, and we can read those aloud.
Okay.
And perhaps while we're doing that, Scott, I could just kind of do a little bit of explanation for the benefit of the public. If that's
Yeah.
okay. So, just to be clear, what we're here to consider tonight isn't the actual tax abatement. That's been considered and voted on some time ago by the Common Council. What we're here tonight to contemplate on these particular parcels and lots is whether or not we should waive the non-compliance with the tax abatement statute. And as I've discussed with all of you,
No.
is she talking to me? Are you talking to me, man?
Clawing my leg.
I mean, I've just instinctively stopped talking. Uh, So, as you know from our conversations and for the benefit of the public, when someone is awarded or their statement of benefits is approved and they're awarded tax abatement, for lack of a better term, the obligation falls to the property owner to file certain forms with the county auditor. One of those is the 322RE for real estate and a CF1, which is a certificate of compliance. And then every year thereafter, the CF1, updated CF1s have to be filed. Now, the deadline for doing that is by May 10th in the year prior to your abatement deduction, and or 30 days from your notice of final assessment. So these parcels that we have in front of us tonight are all in non-compliance in the sense that they did not get their 322 REs or their CF1s on file with the county auditor in time. Now, under the statute, the homeowner can request, or we can grant a waiver of that non-compliance and allow them to continue with their tax abatement. And what the statute says is we pass a resolution at a public hearing waiving the non-compliance, and we set the terms of that waiver. So what these resolutions are, these 7 resolutions are 6, as President Williams indicated. 6 of them are Marina Shores parcels. You'll note that 3 of them are 76 designations, 176A, 76B, and 76C lots. When the tax abatement was granted, it was lot 76. Since that time, they were divided into 3 parcels, which is fine. But when you see the resolutions, there were 3 of them that referenced the original resolution granting the statement of benefits for lot 76. That applies to all 3 of those, 76A, B, and C that we have in front of us tonight. So really, the discretion falls to the Common Council whether or not they wish to waive the non-compliance. There were some, a lot of digging in the well by myself and Clerk Treasurer Rivas, and in conjunction with the county auditor, sort of trying to put the pieces together as to what happened with this. And it seemed to me that a waiver of the non-compliance was appropriate in this instance, or in these instances, but that's not for me to say, that's for you. So that's what we're here to discuss tonight.
Okay. Colin, are we getting any public input or comment?
Nothing has come through yet regarding this on Facebook.
Okay.
Are
I
the
just want to
people
add,
that are the
Go ahead,
people
Mayor.
aware that we're having this meeting tonight? The people that are requesting these abatement
Madam
issues
Chair.
be heard?
Oh my gosh, it's my dog now. Hold on a second. My son just walked in and my dog was very excited. So, so I have left a message with the attorney for the Conradis. I did in my last meeting with the Conradis and their attorney indicate that we would be having a meeting this week to deal with this. And I left a message with their attorney today, sort of memorializing that fact. With respect to the homeowners at Marina Shores, both myself and Nina have been in contact with the developer, and he has indicated through his staff that they've advised the homeowners that we would be addressing this evening.
Okay, we've just been joined by Councilman Brian Gully. Welcome, Brian. All right, so I would just like to recognize the efforts of Attorney Whitten, Clerk Treasurer Rivas, and our County Auditor Vicky Urbanik. They spent a lot of hours sorting through these issues that have ended up on our lap to determine the best course of action so the taxpayer is not harmed in any way, the property owners are not harmed in any way, and they get the abatement that we approved. So we should appreciate the effort that they put forth in many, many hours to get this clarified. So thank you.
There is a
Thanks,
comment
Scott.
on Facebook, a question: is the tax abatement due to the coronavirus impact? The answer to that is no. These abatements were issued over a year ago, and this is to waive noncompliance for forms that were not filed at the time.
And I think there may have just been a misunderstanding maybe from, I don't know, the residents or Marina Shores and getting the information to the residents. I think that they thought by turning in the information this year, it was
Mhm.
current for this tax year, and not realizing it needed to be submitted last year in May 10th.
I think that's correct. Nina.
Nina, can you give an explanation as to why it's always a year behind on filings for this type of thing?
Well, I can chime in on that. So we know we pay our property taxes in arrears, so that you have to get those in the year prior, so that, like other deductions, that puts the county on notice to apply those deductions when they're doing the settlement for the properties. So they have to have it the year before, because otherwise they wouldn't know to do it.
Okay. Do we want to move forward, or can we move forward with the actual resolutions for Marina Shores?
I think so. Any other comments, Colin, or was that just the one?
Just a resident thanking Vicky and Nina for discovering this and bringing it to the attention of the homeowners.
Okay.
Well, that's good. That's positive. All right, then I'll go ahead and read, as I said earlier, one of the resolutions in its entirety, so everyone in the community can hear, those that are tuned in, exactly what the body of that resolution is. And then in regard, so I'm speaking about Marina Shores now. In regard to the other 5, I will just reference the lot, the address, and the homeowner, and understand that the body of the resolution is exactly the same. Are you comfortable with that, Attorney Whitten and everybody?
I am, yes.
Is that
Yes.
okay? All right. So this is resolution number 20 dash. This is waiver of noncompliance for Marina Shores Lot 76A. Whereas the Portage Common Council wishes to encourage and foster economic development within the city of Portage, and whereas the Portage Common Council adopted ordinance 18-13 evidencing its desire to allow tax abate benefits to a community of properties located within the previously designated economic development target area. And whereas Marina Shores at Dune Harbor LLC submitted its statement of benefits for Marina Shores Lot 76, which said statement of benefits was approved by the Portage Common Council by the passage of Resolution 18-23 dated November 12, 2017. And whereas the property now known commonly as 6117 Dune Harbor Drive, Portage, Indiana, is now owned by Kathleen and Mark Lang. Whereas, pursuant to Indiana Code, the property owner was required to file their Form 322RE and Forms 3F1, as referenced by our attorney earlier, to the Porter County Auditor before May 10. In the year in which the addition to assessed valuation or new assessment is made, or not later than 30 days from the assessment notice is mailed to the property owner if it was mailed after April 10th. Whereas the property owner failed to file said form with the auditor by the deadline set forth by Indiana Code. And whereas the property owner is seeking a waiver of noncompliance under IC 6.1-1-12.9.5 to allow them to receive the tax abatement for the year 2019 paid 2020. Now, therefore, the Portage Common Council finds that 1, that the property owner's noncompliance was neither willful nor intentionally, and therefore the property owner should be granted a waiver of noncompliance. And the property owner is hereby granted a waiver of noncompliance for tax year 2019 paid 2020. Number 3, that consistent with this waiver, this property owner that shall receive the benefit, the tax abatement previously granted under Resolution 18-23. Number 4, that this waiver shall not be construed to contemplate a waiver of any other years, past or future, other than what is addressed herein. And therefore, the property owner is required to file all forms required under Indiana Code to maintain the tax abatement for future years. And that's important. So they have to comply moving forward. So that would be for 2020 paid 2021. Is that correct, Attorney Whitten?
That is correct.
All right. So that is the resolution in its entirety. I will read the other 5 lots and addresses and property owners that are asking for this waiver of noncompliance at Marina Shores. So we have, in addition to lot 76A, we have lot 76B, which is commonly known as 6119 Dune Harbor Drive, Portage, Indiana. Is now owned by Michelle Bissonette. We also have lot 76, which is 6121 Dune Harbor Drive, Portage, Indiana, which is owned by Patricia McKerney.
John and
Pardon me?
John and Patricia McKerney.
I'm sorry.
It says
John.
John and Patricia McKerney.
Thank you.
No problem.
John and Patricia McKerney. Yes. Then we have lot 59, which is 1201 Bayside Drive, Portage, Indiana, that is owned by David and Janet Tippold. We have lot 32, which is 5946 Beacon Lane, Portage, Indiana, 46368, which is owned by Larkin and Patricia Lyle, L-A-I-L. And lot 28, finding lot 28, which is 5966 Beacon Lane, Portage, Indiana, which is owned by Capital 6, Roman numeral 3. And that, let the record reflect that these resolutions have been read in their entirety. I make a motion to adopt.
I have
All
one
6
question.
resolutions.
I'm sorry. I have a question. This is probably for Dan. Dan, on
Mhm.
number 4, when it talks about that waiver, that in the future, if they do not file these, does that mean there will not be any more abatements for them?
So here's the thing, that if they did not comply with getting their CF1s over to the auditor's office, getting their, if they haven't done their 322s, then you do so. If they don't, this waiver doesn't save them. They're in non-compliance again, and they're right back where they started, and then it's back to you whether or not you want to give them another waiver. So, no, this doesn't save them for that. They would be right back in non-compliance, and that would be unfortunate.
I would hope that all of this and all the communication everybody is now aware of what they need to do going forward for the next 3 or 4 years in some cases.
Agreed. Definitely.
And
I
even
think you
future
needed a
growth.
second. I'll second Scott's motion.
You have a motion and a second. Do you have any further discussion on the Marina Shores portion of this waiver of tax abatements? If not, Nina, would you please call the roll?
Councilperson Alvarez,
Yes.
Councilperson Podgorski,
Yes.
Councilperson Geishurst,
Yes.
Councilperson Williams,
Yes.
Councilperson Gully,
Yes.
Councilperson Zilli.
Yes.
So just to be clear, even though we're not required to remind them, and we won't in the future because it would be too problematic, but what I will do, or the auditor, depending on which one of us gets the letter out first, we'll send them all a letter with a one-time reminder that says, look, guys, here's the rules. You gotta comply. So.
Do it, councilperson that represents them.
No.
I have a question, Attorney Whitten.
Yes.
When do they have to file? What is their filing date now since we've given them this waiver? What is the date?
All
they need
we've
to file?
done, all we've done is cleaned up the failure to get it in time. So here's the deal. They need to get that 322 in like yesterday if they haven't already. And they're already pushing up against the deadline for next year's CF1, which is May 10th. So that's why I want to get a letter out to them.
Are they aware of that, Dan? Are they aware of that, or they won't be until they get this letter?
Well, so just to let you know, in my conversations with the developer, he's also concerned about getting the information out to them. So I'm not only mailing the letter, but I told him I would send him a copy, or the auditor would, and he can disperse it right away to them. So they should get it in time to do what they
Can
gotta
they
do.
file that online?
I think they can, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know how the auditor has it right now. I don't
Because
know.
if the building is closed, then that's going to present an issue for them.
I'm sure she would accept it by email, I'm guessing.
That's probably true, Nina. Yeah.
Well, that might be something you want to convey to them.
So here, I don't want to give them, so here's the thing. The auditor is going to be understanding of the fact that we're in a lockdown semi-quarantine state of affairs, and she's going to be accommodating to some degree. I just don't want to make promises for her. So she can illustrate that, to them in her letter, how they can do it. I don't want to put a burden on her that isn't there.
Okay.
I think the mayor is just made a good point. We just need to make sure we communicate the right information so they know exactly what steps and procedures they need to follow.
Right.
So if there are no
All right.
further questions, then Nina, would you please call the roll? Oh, you already called the roll on Marina Shores. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
We have to do Conrady now. Are you going to do that, Scott?
Yes. So this is resolution number, pardon me? Okay. Resolution number 20 dash. This is waiver of non-compliance for Conrady Plastics LLC. This one I'm going to go ahead and read in its entirety. Whereas the Portage Common Council wishes to encourage and foster economic development within the city of Portage, and whereas the Portage Common Council adopted ordinances and resolutions evidencing its desire to allow tax abatement benefits for businesses located within the previously designated economic development target area. And whereas Conrady Plastics LLC submitted its statement of benefits requesting a 5-year tax abatement on personal property located at its business, with said statement of benefits being approved by the Portage Common Council on April 5th, 2016, by the passage of Resolution 16-6. And whereas Conrady Plastics LLC submitted its statement of benefits requesting a 10-year tax abatement on real estate located at its business, which said statement of benefits was approved by the Portage Common Council on April 5th, 2016, by the passage of Resolution 16-5. And whereas pursuant to Indiana Code, the property owner was required to file their Form 322-RE and Form CF1 to the Porter County Auditor before May 10th in the year in which the addition to its assessed valuation or new assessment is made, or not later than the 30 days from the assessment notice is mailed to the property owner if it was mailed after April 10th, and whereas the property owner failed to file said forms with the auditor by the deadline set forth by the Indiana Code, and whereas the property owner is seeking a waiver of noncompliance under IC 6.1-1-12.95.9.5 to allow them to receive the tax abatements. Now, therefore, the Portage Common Council finds that, 1, that the property owner's noncompliance was neither willful nor intentional, and therefore the property owner should be granted a waiver of noncompliance, and number 2, the property owner is hereby granted a waiver of noncompliance for failure to file the required forms as described above. 3, that consistent with this waiver, the property owner shall receive the benefit of the real property and personal property tax abatements previously granted under Resolution 16-5 and -16-6, respectively. That as a term of this waiver, the tax abatement shall commence with tax year 2019, pay 2020, as if it were year 1 of the abatement schedule, and continuous thereafter, provided, however, that there are no future non-compliance issues. 5, that this waiver shall not be construed to contemplate a waiver of any other years, past or future, other than what is addressed herein, and therefore the property owner is required to file all forms required under Indiana code to maintain the tax abatement for future use. Let the record reflect.
To adopt in a second. Is there any discussion?
Everybody understands what we're doing. We've talked at length about this one. We're just sort of rebooting their abatement, this year being year one, pay 20, and they're off to the races.
And they too, just as the homeowners going forward, the responsibility is upon Conrady to file everything properly going forward.
Correct.
So Colin, have we gotten any other?
No.
Nothing,
Alright.
okay.
Dan, were you able to find out anything more about what their end of the abatement deal was, if they've met their employment or whatever else is part of the deal?
You know, I have not, Brian, because I haven't seen the statement of compliance with, you know, we can look at that when they bring their next CF1 in front of the board, which they need to do annually for us to contemplate and look at, but I have not.
That's another thing that we discussed is, are we going to start going forward, bringing these CF1s before the council for approval? And if so, when would we do that for this year? Would that be after they file on the May 10th deadline and we review them in June's meeting, or when does that happen?
So, Brian, the issue in the past has been, we always approve, the CF1s always come before the council. They're always reviewed and approved. The issue is there hasn't been any investigation into what they're telling us is whether or not it's accurate or not. Because you can put whatever you want on a form. If nobody looks at it and goes and determines whether or not you actually hired the 15 people you said you hired, that's been the issue in the past. There was discussions last year about creating a council committee to oversee those CF1s. So in conjunction with the clerk treasurer, the city attorney, the council committee would take those under advisement and determine whether or not they've actually met their obligations, and then come to the council with a recommendation of how to move forward. So I know we've discussed that in the past and we just haven't put it into practice yet.
Yeah, I'd like to comment.
Go ahead.
I think that would be an important committee, Colin, and thanks for bringing, Brian and Colin, for bringing that to our attention. You know, we make a big assumption here that that they are in compliance, that they've met their employment guidelines and goals that they have stated. They've hired the people, they've generated the payroll they said they were going to generate, and all of those benchmarks that they say they're going to do. So yes, I think it's important that we hold them accountable for their actions and that they meet those goals they said they were going to set forth. So let me work on that to put a group together, and I think that would make a lot of sense, because if we give an abatement to a business or a residents, then particularly with businesses, they have guidelines and benchmarks they need to meet. We need to make sure that they are accountable.
And I'm not sure if it needs to be a formal committee of 3 members that would then have to hold public meetings. I think it makes sense for 2 council members in conjunction with the city attorney, the clerk treasurer's office, mayor's office through community development to look at these. Because I think if we do a formal committee, it's, I mean, are we going to bring everybody in and ask them to come in and tell us in a public meeting, yes, everything on our form is correct? It would be hard, I think, for an official committee to then go out and investigate whether or not forms are correct. Dan, do you agree with that?
Well, there may be a best practice out there. Maybe AIM could give us some direction in that, on how other cities determine whether or not businesses are meeting their obligations. So we'll look into that. I hear what you're saying, Councilman Zilli.
Mayor, I wonder if there's an opportunity, I don't know, I know that they're stretched pretty thin, but with community development, if there's any community development or economic development departments, if there's any availability of their time to help in this process once a year when they come up, to just do a gut check. Does it make sense that this business that said they were going to hire 20 employees, do we think that they actually did it? Can we look into it further, request documents, that kind of thing?
Well, I'm not going to speak for community development because they have a lot going on. I mean, you would have to check with them. They're pretty good about, being part of this team. One of the things I wanted to bring up is that if we had people that committed to adding so many employees per year, and now we're in this pandemic,
Right.
it's another thing that we need to consider, because our businesses are hurting right now and they may not be able to take on new employees. They may have to let employees go, but that is certainly not what their plan was going forward. So I think we have to be aware of the situations that are going on around us too.
So the way it works,
Good point.
so the way it works is the way it's supposed to work is they bring their statement of compliance in timely. It's brought before the council. The council reviews it and either accepts it, or if they think they are not in compliance, if they think they've not completed the things that they were supposed to complete, they can set it for hearing. And at that hearing, they can make a determination whether or not to revoke their abatement. If the council takes no action, the default is it's deemed in compliance.
Right.
If they've submitted their CF1s, and if they've done that, if they failed to submit them, that they're not in compliance. But if they timely submit them to the city and we take no action, they're deemed in compliance after a period of time. So yeah, Brian, to your point, and Colin to yours, and yours too, Scott, frankly, if we felt that, you felt that they weren't wholly in compliance, you bring them in front of the council, you ask them questions, and then you set it for the hearing under the statute and contemplate a revocation of the abatement. That's how it works. I've watered that down greatly, but that's just sort of the 100-mile high way it goes.
Okay.
I have one last question. Where are the guidelines set when a company wants an abatement? Is there a standard? Is it based on that particular company? As far as hiring and who they hire, and are veterans considered first, or whatever, they have to invest so much each year, et cetera, et cetera.
So we know that under the code, they're asking for an exception to property taxes. So they're asking for you to grant them an exception to their what would normally be their property tax bill. And the statute allows you to set criteria for that abatement. So you sort of set the standards. You wouldn't want to have, a mom and pop shop open a bakery and you lay down the law that they got to have 40 more employees. That's probably unlikely. But
Right.
it's
Gotcha.
an international business, so I think it is case by case, Debbie.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if you have no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. Nina, could you please call the roll?
Councilperson Alvarez,
Yes.
Councilperson Podgorski,
Yes.
Councilperson Geishurst,
Yes.
Councilperson Williams,
Yes.
Councilperson Gully,
Yes.
Councilperson Zilli.
Yes.
If there is no other business to come before the council, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Do
Second.
we need to close the public hearing, Dan?
Yeah, let's go ahead and close the public hearing now. Thank you, Nina. So Madam Chairman, would you deem the public hearing closed?
Yes, I don't have my gavel, but I am declaring that the public hearing is closed. We have no more comments, right, Colin?
Nothing new came through.
Okay,
All right.
so Colin has made a motion to adjourn. Who made the second?
I think
I
Debbie.
did. Yeah.
Okay. Nina, please call the roll.
Councilperson Alvarez,
Yes.
Councilperson Podgorski,
Yes.
Councilperson Geishurst,
Yes.
Councilperson Williams,
Yes.
Councilperson Gully,
Yes.
Councilperson Zilli.
Yes.
I just want to say that the faith community today had today is National Day of Prayer. And so they had a prayer chain that stretched from City Hall all the way down to the fire station. So if
Wow.
you see signs along there, thanking the city government, thanking the firemen, the first responders, it was a very nice service. Everyone wore their mask and stayed 6 feet apart. So thank you to them.
And they delivered goodies to a lot of the different facilities. So
Yes.
thank you for that. I shared
That's
with
awesome.
my staff.
That's awesome.
I'm going to
Awesome.
verify that, Nina, that you shared. I'm going to verify that.
She already asked me if I was cleaning out my pantry.
All right, everybody, have a good evening.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Stay safe.
Two.
Good night.
Stay safe, guys.